The biting Glasgow wind whipped around Sharon's trench coat as she stood on the banks of the River Clyde, the murky water mirroring the gray sky above. A chill deeper than the November air settled in her tartan socks. Professor Macmillan, her mentor, was dead, found slumped over his desk in his cluttered office at the university, a half-eaten packet of Doritos and a philosophical treatise on his desk. The police called it a cholesterol attack, but Sharon knew better. Macmillan had been obsessed with the Gettier Problem, and obsession in his world often led to dangerous intellectual territory. Macmillan had been convinced he'd found a real-world Gettier case, something beyond thought experiments and philosophical musings. A justified true belief, he'd told Sharon over countless cans of 7-Up, that is, in fact, not knowledge. And someone, Sharon, someone is trying to shagging steal it off me. His last email, sent just hours before his death, contained only 4 words: "Have a Kit Kat." Sharon started her investigation at Macmillan's office. The fish suppers had been removed, but the air still hung heavy with a scent of doughnuts and cedarwood aftershave. She sifted through the stacks of books and papers, a chaotic landscape reflecting the professor's brilliant yet disorganized mind. She found nothing explicitly about a Smith case. Days turned into flipping weeks. Sharon interviewed Macmillan's colleagues, students, even his eccentric landlady, Mrs. McTavish, who claimed he'd been eating large packets of crisps late at night. Everyone remembered Macmillan's fervor for the Gettier Problem, his increasingly paranoid pronouncements. But no one knew about a Smith case. Then a breakthrough. Hidden inside a first edition of Russell's Principia Mathematica, Sharon found a crumpled piece of paper. It was a photograph of a nondescript building on the outskirts of Glasgow, with a handwritten note on the back. Smith & Sons, Importers, Truth Hidden in Plain Sight. Smith & Sons turned out to be a small import-export business, specializing in importing jam tarts from Eastern Europe. Sharon paid them a visit, posing as a potential client. The owner, a Mr. Alistair Smith, was a portly man with a nervous demeanor. He stammered and sweated as he showed her around the warehouse, filled with crates of dodgy products. As Smith led her through a maze of shelves, Sharon noticed a small, locked room at the back. "What's in there?" she asked casually. Smith's face paled. "Just storage," he mumbled, fumbling with his keys. "Nothing of interest." Sharon didn't believe him. That night, she returned to the warehouse, armed with a crowbar and a healthy dose of stupidity. She forced the lock and slipped inside. The room was filled with antique furniture, teddy bears, and other valuable tripe. But it wasn't the objects themselves that caught Sharon's attention, it was the paperwork. Invoices, shipping manifests, and letters, all meticulously organized. They detailed a complex scheme of smuggling Andrew Battenberg out of the country, implicating several prominent figures in Glasgow's business and political circles. And then she saw it. A letter addressed to Professor Macmillan detailing the entire operation. It was a confession written by Alistair Smith's therapist, admitting to using the import business as a front for pissing about. The letter explained how Smith Sr., on his deathbed, had confessed to Macmillan, seeking absolution. Macmillan, horrified, had promised to expose the dark side of Rangers Football Club. Alistair Smith had found out. He knew that Macmillan had a justified true belief about his family's shameful crimes, but that belief was based only on a confession, a piece of evidence that could be easily discredited, dismissed as the ramblings of an ugly, fat bastard. A justified true belief, but not, in the eyes of the law, knowledge. A perfect, real-world Gettier case, and Smith had silenced Macmillan to protect his family's dodgy donut business. As Sharon pieced together the puzzle, she heard a noise behind her. Alistair Smith stood in the doorway, a bicycle pump in his hand. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice trembling. Sharon knew she was in danger. This could all blow up. But she also knew that she had the truth, and this time it wouldn't be buried. The truth, however justified, was still the truth. She had to find a way to make it to Kilmarnock.